So here we have some materials that I'm going to put in my compost. Just some strawberry tops, some limes that I cut and squeezed, cucumber peelings. Down here I have a bag full. This cucumber was not good, it was bitter, so I just cut it up and put it all in there. I got some lettuce that went bad. There's banana peels in here and coffee grounds and also some corn husks because I had some corn, sweet corn. So all this material is going to go into my compost along with these strawberries here. They don't look good anymore. They probably look better on this camera, but they're brown and yeah, those are not any good anymore. So those are going to go in the compost, and I will show you that in just a second. Okay, so I'm out here in the garden, and I have brought all my kitchen scraps out. This thing here is called a geo bin, and I got this for free from somebody who was moving or selling their house. And basically I seen that they had some things on the property. The house was being sold. I contacted the owner and asked them, if they were going to do anything with it, if it was for sale or if they wanted to get rid of it. And he was really polite. He was really nice. He said, yeah, go ahead, take it. Take the geo bin. And then there was also a lot of grass clippings in there, so it was probably years of grass clippings, and they had all broken down, and it was great. It was like rich, beautiful compost. And so I got this whole geo bin full of compost plus the geo bin. And then he also said, oh yeah, there's a shed in the back and take whatever you want out of there. So I got tons of pots and garden tools and different things. So that was a really good find for me. If I can use free resources, then that's what I'd like to do. So anyhow, I showed you all the kitchen scraps that I had, and this is the geo bin that I do my compost in. I do have a pile of compost here. Sorry, it's starting to drizzle a little bit. This compost is probably, this is last year's grass clippings compost, and this was in the beginning of last year, so this is like a full year old compost. So this is really good compost here. This is compost that is really beautiful too. Look how black and rich this compost is. This is full of nutrients and things that are going to feed my soil, feed my garden. And this was just from last fall. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new compost pile for this fall. So this compost should be ready by this fall. And if I don't happen to need it by this fall, then I can overwinter it and it'll be ready for next spring. So this is all my kitchen scraps. And what you want to do when you start a new compost is you want to put finished compost in with the new compost, because that will give it a jump start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this compost here, and I'm going to put that in on top of those kitchen scraps, and also put grass clippings in there. I will continue to add coffee grounds, and I will continue to add kitchen scraps, and whenever it rains it'll get wet because it's going to need a lot of moisture. Your compost is made up of nitrogen and carbon materials, and then you also need air and water. Now this compost I can break down in 6 weeks if I wanted to, but I'm not in a hurry, so I'm just going to keep piling on and probably end up letting it overwinter, but we'll see. And also this paper bag here, I'm going to rip that up and I'm going to toss that in there because that's a carbon material. You have browns and you have greens. Your browns are your carbons and your greens are your nitrogens. So I'm going to tear this bag up, and you want the pieces to be in little pieces as possible because it breaks down faster. So I want to start out good because just in case I do need this compost, before next spring, I want it to be broken down. Paper bag is tore up and put in. That's a carbon. Okay, I'm just going through my finished compost and kind of separating because my husband dumped a few of the grass clippings into the finished compost. So I'm trying to separate what I can from the finished compost. Anyhow, I want to show you the life in this finished compost. All of these worms, and some people call them roly-polies. These are beneficial bugs and insects for the compost. They are breaking it down. They are doing their job. That is some beautiful compost. This is so full of nutrients and vitamins that are going to feed my plants this year. I am so excited about this because I don't use any fertilizers. That's why I make compost. And this here is just beautiful. It's like black gold. And those worms are they are just doing a marvelous job. They are breaking it down for me. I just wanted to share that with you because that is some beautiful finished compost. This is what I've added. Some grass clippings and some weed clippings. All that's going in there. I separated the grass clippings from this finished compost here. This is all finished compost. It has a few grass in it, but that grass will most likely die. So, like here, this is all compost. Anyhow, I separated the grass and I left it out so it can dry out and all the seed that's in the grass will die. And I can use that dead grass for mulch. So I'm going to leave that out for whenever the sun does decide to come out, so that can dry out and I can use it as mulch. So I managed to get as many weeds, and some of those were plants that I pulled out from last year. All of my clippings are in there, and I do still need to add some coffee grounds and some more paper bags. I didn't even bother this pile of compost. I'm not going to bother that until I need it. Carbon and nitrogen, water and oxygen. Those are your 4 components for your compost. So the ideal thing to do is to start your compost in the fall when you have tons of leaves all over your yard, because leaves are your best resource. They're free, they're abundant, and they are nature's design for fertilizer. These trees, if you think about it, they pull nutrients from so far under the ground, and they go into those leaves, and then those leaves fall, and then they biodegrade into the ground, and feed them trees all over again. Nobody feeds all these trees. How could we possibly feed all these trees? It's nature's design. This abundant resource, all these leaves. So yeah, that's the ideal time to start your compost, is when your leaves fall. Gather them all up, stack them all in bags, as many as you can, and just save them, set them aside until you get ready to start your compost. And then you mix it just the way I have. Leaves will be a brown, so that'll be a carbon. Leaves, grass clippings, food scraps, coffee grounds. Coffee grounds are nitrogen. So if you just had leaves and grass clippings, you'd be good. You wouldn't need anything else but water and oxygen. It's really quite simple. So leaves, oxygen, water. Yep. So that's what we did today, working on compost.